It's the liquor of China's elite and powerful. Maotai, a famous brand of Chinese distilled spirit, is the preferred drink for high-powered Communist Party officials and features regularly in private gatherings. That closeness to the party elite gives the company advantages when it comes to expanding its business interests. Matthias Bullinger follows a Chinese journalist investigating Maotai's alleged violations of the law.
Liu Hu normally exposes crime and corruption cases. Now the investigative journalist is on his way to China's most famous liquor factory.
You can already smell the alcohol here.
The southern Chinese town of Maotai is also the name of a liquor produced here. The Maotai Distillery is China's most valuable company, worth more than the country's biggest bank. China's political elite is partial to it, and as some of the bottles cost several hundred euros, Liu says they are the perfect gift to grease the wheel.
Corrupt officials prefer Maotai because they only drink the most expensive brands. This alcohol is the most expensive, and their love for it lets the prices rise even more.
The liquor factory takes up large swaths of Maotai town, and many more are trying to profit from the big name. Within sight of the state-owned giant is the Gulang Distillery, a family business.
Customers and people in the industry know that there's a limit to the production capacity of Maotai. That's where we come in. The government lets us follow the lead of the Maotai company and profit from them. That brings in some wealth to us people here.
His company uses the same distilling techniques. The grain is fermented in earth pits. The pits give it a pungent aroma reminiscent of soy sauce that many people outside of China find hard to swallow. The mash is fermented in a dry state. During the distillation process, steam passes through the mash and releases the alcohol. Gulang sells the liquor mostly to individuals as well as companies. They produce special editions for weddings and company anniversaries. The intimate relationship between China's communists and the spicy liquor began in the 1930s when communist troops hid in the area from their nationalist adversaries.
After they came to power, they turned the factory into a state-owned enterprise, so it could provide them with liquor. They expropriated the factory, and the owner, who refused to hand over his business, was executed.
These close links to the Red Elite have caught Liu Hu's attention. He's been tipped off that Maotai also produces in a neighboring town, a violation of the rules on geographic origin. So he goes to take a look. He finds the company is constructing vast production facilities there.
Nobody cares what they do here. It's as if the government agencies which should control them don't exist.
It's another piece of evidence for the book he is planning to write on China's most valuable company.
And for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by Clifford Coonan from DW Business. He spent many years as a China correspondent. Clifford, welcome. You spent, I think, 15 years in China, and during all that time, did you develop a taste for Maotai?
Well, I drank a lot of it. I don't know if that's entirely saying if it's fair to say I developed a taste for it. Basically, Maotai lubricated the wheels of commerce in China as it was opening up all through the 2000s, and it was impossible to go anywhere without facing these banquets, these enormous food banquets, at the end of which it would be, and during, would be vast quantities of Maotai would be drunk.
So explain to us this lubrication process. Explain to us the status that this company enjoys in China's elite.
Well, it's huge. It's just, it was associated with, because, I mean, it's at weddings, it's at business banquets, it's everywhere. It's really very, very central to how things are done. So it became it became a status symbol because each different variety is priced differently. And one time I had an interesting experience at Chinese New Year with an Air Force colonel who was a relative of a friend, and we were spending Chinese New Year there, and he had a 1,500 euro bottle in a squeegee. It was a squeegee bottle, like a plastic bottle. It did not look, and it smelled like petrol. But this was a huge status symbol. So it's really, really central to that side of the culture.
And just for reference, I mean, 1,500 euros is way more than the monthly salary in China, isn't it?
Absolutely. At that stage, it would have been certainly 10 times the monthly salary. So for one squeegee bottle.
And what about the corruption scandals that have dogged this company?
Well, all the way towards the latter part of Hu Jintao's reign, and towards the end of the 2000, up to around 2012, when Xi Jinping came to power, it was very much enmeshed in the whole corruption scandals that were going on. We had tales of cadres who were drinking themselves literally to death at banquets, who were with gold watches up their arms, and it was all these sort of stories which, when Xi Jinping came in, one of the reasons he made himself so popular was he cracked down on this. But at the same time, it's had this residual effect. You know, it's had this residual popularity. It's been able to stay popular. It's still got the association with corruption, but it's also still so popular in parts of the culture that it's managed to become, you know, as we've seen, China's biggest company now.
I wanted to speak about Xi Jinping's crackdown against corrupt officials. And you're quite right, this happened around 2013, 2014, when he was cracking down on state banquets, which went on for hours on end. Still, Maotai continues to be popular. Is that not a contradiction in terms of what Xi Jinping was trying to do?
Well, I think a lot of it is cultural. Just like expensive whiskey in Europe or in America or in India, indeed, is very you know, people like the more expensive stuff, but also people. It's still very popular, you know, outside. It doesn't have to be as expensive. There's a bit of a face element. So I think that's what's kept it going. And also, so much of what's going on in sort of the private sector in China now is also sort of, they're still drinking the Maotai. It's been taken out of maybe the state sector and brought into the private sector.
Right. We'll leave it there for the time being. Clifford Coonan, thank you so much for joining us in the studio for that.